Carolyn's life began in the plains of the upper Midwest. She was born in McVille, North Dakota. Her parents, Reverend Roy and Selma Maldy, lived in Pekin in the church parsonage. Carolyn was baptized at Pekin Lutheran. She comes from farmer roots. Both sets of grandparents homesteaded land in Mount Vernon, South Dakota, and Velva, North Dakota. Sven and Mary Maldy, and Paul and Birgit Overvold. Carolyn was the oldest of 4 children, the others being Mary, Mark, and Susan. With her dad being a pastor, their homes changed a lot. She lived in 9 different communities, including Staunton, Minnesota, Hemet and Eureka, California. One of the places was unique, Colombia, South America, where she learned Spanish as a second language. During her school years, she was led to think about becoming a nurse, in part modeled to her by 3 aunts from Velva. Singing was a gift given to her. She enjoyed singing with her sister Mary. She was drawn to apply to college at PLU, a school with a strong nursing program and excellent music program. Bill is a native Californian. Born in Corning, the home of his father Roger, his dad's folks, Alpha and Tom Kees, came from Kentucky and settled in Corning. Henry Nicolai came with his wife Bertha and daughter Lena from Germany in 1923 and settled at a relative's farm, George Koch, south of Orland. In a few years, Henry bought a small farm. Bertha moved to town when Henry died, and that's where his mom Lena grew up, along with her brother John. Bill's mom Lena married Roger Kees in 1938. They had 4 children, Denton, Betty, Judy, and Bill. They divorced after World War II. Lena moved back to Orland. In 1944, Bill was baptized at Redeemer Lutheran in Chico. In 1951, Lena married Alfred Radisep, and they had a son, Lembit. Bill grew up in Orland, and with the church family at First Lutheran. While not thinking about it specifically, he found himself drawn to ministry. He was confirmed at First Lutheran and graduated from Orland High School. In this community, he began to use some of his gifts of music. He was drawn to PLU because of the music, and he had a desire to start anew somewhere. Carolyn and Bill met in 1962 when they sang in the university chorus. They happened to meet because they rode in the same car when they went home for Christmas and then back again. Something happened on the way back to PLU. Bill called Carolyn and asked her if she would like to go to hear Vladimir Horowitz, and she said yes. It was an amazing concert. After the concert, Carolyn told her roommate she'd just met the person she was going to marry. Bill found that out some years later. So Bill and Carolyn started to date, mostly eating supper after chorus. Bill still remembers their first kiss. It was during the summer of 1963 when he had returned back to the campus. A sweet, soft peck on the lips. There was a short period of brokenness in their relationship in the fall of 1963. But even now, 57 years later, they still love those sweet kisses on the lips. In the winter of 1965, they decided they wanted to spend their life together and get married the following year. But what about that following year? They really appreciated their campus pastor, John Larsgaard. With his help, Carolyn decided to finish at PLU, and Bill started Luther Seminary, and he wrote a letter every day, along with a few long-distance phone calls. They met at Christmas in Phoenix. Carolyn's folks had made their 12th move to a new church in Phoenix the winter before the wedding. Carolyn wondered about getting married in Orland. Her mom's face said no. Phoenix it would be on June 13th, 1966. They found out before the wedding that was also the same date as Luther's marriage. The wedding was simple. Family came from California and North Dakota, and friends from college, along with members from Hope Lutheran, all filled the church. Cake, mints, nuts, coffee, tea, and lemonade was enough for the reception. Immediately following the wedding, Carolyn and Bill toured with the Saga Singers. Toward the end of this tour, Carolyn got news that her brother Mark had died while in the army in Okinawa. They were not able to get back for the funeral. This was a very difficult time in their new marriage. At the end of the tour, they left for St. Paul via Orland and Phoenix. Their first home was a bust. Not good. A rock band lived next door. Within 2 months, they were in an apartment. Carolyn had gotten her first full-time position as a hospital nurse. They could pay the rent. The year flew by. In late May, they were heading to the Bay Area where Bill did clinical pastoral education, and Carolyn worked in the NICU at the very same hospital. From this adventure, they moved to Havre, Montana, where Bill interned for a year at First Lutheran. Rod Kwame, his supervisor, showed Bill how to be a pastor. Carolyn taught licensed vocational nurses at Northern Montana College. This was a delight and honed her skills to be a nurse educator. In their return to St. Paul, Bill stepped away from seminary. They chose to live in Anoka, and Bill became a metal fabricator. During this time, their first child, Amanda, was born. Carolyn had a steady job as a public health nurse in Anoka County. Her supervisor was Carol Blair. Her husband was Ed, the associate pastor at Zion Lutheran. That's where Amanda was baptized. Bill returned to seminary, and the family moved into Dinkytown. Carolyn was able to find work at St. Mary's Hospital. Her life was work and being a new mother. Bill would say that it was the best time in seminary. Bill traveled with solar modules, performing rock and roll religious shows. In the summer, the Kees were heading to Amboy, Minnesota. Bill was ordained in his home congregation, First Lutheran in Orland, June of 1970. It was great to have so many family and friends there. His first calls were served in Minnesota, in Amboy at Jackson Lake, Delavan at Faith, and Good Shepherd in Wells. Their son Matthew was born in 1970 and was baptized at Jackson Lake in Amboy. In that time, Carolyn continued her work as an RN. She worked at Winnebago Hospital and was the school nurse for Wells Unified School District. Bill was called to be an associate pastor at Trinity Lutheran in Ventura, California. Carolyn became active directing the children's choir. She also taught medical terminology at the community college. They became good friends with the Cherry family, who had children Amanda and Matthew's age, and remain friends still today. Their children began school at Elmhurst Elementary. In 1978, they were called to College Lutheran in San Diego. Carolyn expanded her music work to include the chancel choir. She became the school nurse at Murray Manor Elementary School. Amanda was confirmed at College Lutheran. In their first year in San Diego, Carolyn's folks moved to be near them. In 1984, Bill received a call to Hope Lutheran at Santa Clara. Carolyn continued in music with a bell choir at the church and also chose to work as a public health nurse for Santa Clara County. Matthew was confirmed at Hope. During these years, Bill took on roles in both synodical and national church youth gatherings. A memorable event was working with Maya Angelou in 1991. Both Amanda and Matt graduated from Santa Clara High School and then graduated from college, Amanda at California Lutheran and Matt at Pacific Lutheran. Bill resigned his call at Hope in 1991, wondering about becoming a chaplain. He enrolled at the Stanford Hospital residency program. In 1995, Bill received a call to serve as the director of the ELCA Youth Gathering in Chicago. Through his volunteering in a leadership role for the previous 5 gatherings, he had honed his skills to take on this position. 2 memorable gathering times were the Saturday Easter Vigil worship in 1997, and also welcoming Bishop Desmond Tutu to the 2000 gathering. In Chicago, Carolyn stepped into positions as a parish nurse and also became the director of the Institute of Spiritual Companionship. In 2006, they both retired and moved to be near Bill's folks in Chico. As Bill and Carolyn have looked back on their life, they have learned that God has always been present, in darkness or light. When they were at PLU, the campus pastor, John Larsgaard, was a God sighting. They were very active in the student congregation, and they wanted him to provide counseling for them as they prepared for marriage. He helped them work through how to step into their life together, when to get married, where Carolyn should finish school, how could they spend a year apart. God was present in letters and phone calls. During the summer they were married, Carolyn's brother's death was devastating. There was so much grief. At Luther, Dr. Bill Hume became Carolyn's counselor to work through this loss and painful time. God was surprisingly present in helpful listening. In Bill's first call to Amboy Delavan, they discovered the president of the Joint Council, Ray McGaw, was the uncle of Carolyn's brother's best friend in the Army, Gary McGaw. A deadly, tragic car accident brought Gary to the congregation Bill served in Minnesota because Gary was a cousin of the young man who was killed. Carolyn and Gary had a chance to talk about Carolyn's brother Mark. God was surprisingly present. Notable God sightings were in their family as well. The miracle of their children's birth and baptisms, their growing up and desire to share their faith, graduating from college, Amanda again at CLU and Matt at PLU, meeting their future spouses, Kimberly for Matt and Jamie for Amanda. Matt and Kimberly married in July 1995. Amanda and Jamie were married in October 1998. Matt became an immediate dad with Amanda, Lynn, and Keegan, and in 1998, Aiden and Griffin were born. In 2000, 2002, and 2006, Amanda and Jamie welcomed Lindsay, Andrew, and Janelle, 7 in all. They're blessed with great-grandchildren Owen, Kayan, Emma Lynn, Adeline, Ophelia, and Henry and William. They're blessed by the marriages of their grandchildren Amanda and Corey, Aiden and Isabel, Griffin and Rayleigh, and the graduations of Keegan, Griffin and Aiden, Lindsay, and Andrew. They hold in their hearts and mourn that great-grandchildren Bella and Casey could not live a full life. They also hold in their hearts their parents, Roy, Selma, and Bill and Lena. 4 siblings, Mark and Mary, and Betty and Lembit. God is present with every family member, living or fully alive in God. God's showing up has continued throughout their lives. In Wells, Carolyn became the school nurse. In Ventura, she became a children's music director. Bill rode the Sea to Summit. A call to serve in San Diego, Carolyn's a school nurse again where their children attended school. In Santa Clara, as a public health nurse, she used Spanish learned in Colombia. And in Chicago, as a parish nurse and the director of a spiritual direction program. Every ministry prepared Bill for his last official call in Chicago as the director of the ELCA youth gathering. These are all God sightings. Their children introduced Bill and Carolyn to Kauai, a very special God sighting. They traveled first with Amanda and Jamie in 2008, and then with Matt and Kimberly in 2009. Since that time, they've been back 7 times. Almost every Thanksgiving and Christmas, since their children began their families. Bill and Carolyn have been with them either in Frederickson, Washington, or in Sunnyvale, California. They've had multiple family gatherings and being with friends through the years. Friends that happened because of churches. Paradise for Arlie's 70th. Southern California for New Year's. Montecito for nephew's wedding reception. Washington with a saga singer. And again for their 50th. Tennessee for their nephew's wedding. Colorado for a family reunion. Ohio. Pennsylvania. Minnesota. New Jersey. New York. North Dakota. South Dakota. Kauai. Hamilton City. And of course, Yankee Hill. A truly amazing extended God moment has been the ongoing gift of being part of this family at Faith for 16 years. They became members in 2006 in retirement. They have journeyed with many of you and have been blessed in worship, learning, music, and service. Both Lena and Bill's funerals were here at Faith. Bill was interim pastor at his home church, First Lutheran. They have connected with Faith and Family Beginnings. Their primary roots are Germany, Norway, and Scotland. They have met family members in Germany multiple times, and in Norway in Oslo twice, and Stavanger twice. And they have made pilgrimages to many places that hold deep religious history. Wartburg Castle, Stav churches, Iona, Holy Island, Wales, and Cornwall. They were pilgrims to the Holy Land and Jordan, to Chartres Cathedral and Taizé in France, Canada and Alaska to see the wonders of creation, and to the Rhine and Danube rivers to experience reclaiming of the earth and to explore so much music. As they look at their lives, they know that every moment is a gift given. Their life has been blessed with too many gifts to count. Every second counts. 2.5 billion seconds to be exact. They are grateful they have this ongoing journey blessed with God's love, family and relationships of love, and the changes that keep their eyes turned toward God, who is their presence and strength.